Hello fellas, welcome to the Reddit Guide channel, where we unveil hidden and mind-blowing Reddit stories. Let's enjoy today's story. Story 1. Am I the asshole for expecting a girl to get off a treadmill at the gym? The gym I go to doesn't have many treadmills, and I've recently started running. I went to the gym with my partner last night, and all of the treadmills were in use. So I started with some weight machines and then went back to check again. That's when I noticed there was a girl just sitting on one of the treadmills while her friend was actually using the treadmill next to her. She had been sitting there for at least 15 minutes without using it. So I went up and asked if she was planning to use it. She said she was with her friend. I told her she could wait next to her friend's machine instead of taking up equipment that other people actually wanted to use. She just shrugged her shoulders and refused to move. Then a woman came over and asked what was going on. I explained the situation. She said she was the girl's mother and that I shouldn't be telling her daughter to move. I responded that her daughter shouldn't be taking up machines she had no intention of using. The mother said her daughter was free to sit there if she wanted and that she wasn't doing anything wrong. I replied that I could see where her daughter got her entitlement from. She said I was out of order for commenting on her parenting. I told her she should be a better parent if she couldn't handle any criticism. A member of staff came over, and when I explained what was happening, they asked the daughter to either move off the treadmill or leave the gym. My girlfriend later said maybe I shouldn't have argued with the mother, but I don't see how I did anything wrong. So, am I the asshole for asking a girl to get off a treadmill at the gym and then arguing with her mother? Let's take some comments. Commenter 1. Not the asshole, but next time you might consider just notifying an attendant first. Commenter 2. Before asking politely once, did everyone really backslide that far socially? Commenter 3. After you've asked politely once, don't stick around to argue. Here is what I think about the story. Gym equipment is meant to be used, not reserved like a waiting room chair. Asking once was reasonable, but once it turned into a back and forth with the mother, that's probably where it stopped being productive. Sometimes being right isn't worth the extra cardio from arguing. Story 2. Am I the asshole for stopping picking up lunch since my manager tried to force me to go to a restaurant I will not support? I currently work in an office of 14 people. Since I mainly work with clients in a different time zone, I come into the office later than everyone else. Their hours are 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and mine are 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. Because of that, I started picking up lunch for some of my coworkers on my way to work. What started as a nice gesture for 1 or 2 people slowly turned into most of the office giving me their orders. I had 3 rules. First, only 1 restaurant per day. All orders had to come from that one location. Second, I would not go to 2 specific restaurants. Out of moral principles, those were forbidden restaurants, and no order from them would be accepted. Third, your order would be rounded up to the nearest dollar plus $1. For example, if your order was $7.28, it would be $9 for me to pick it up. Still way cheaper than any delivery service. Cash on delivery or prepaid for the week were both accepted. For the most part, there were no issues, except for one coworker and the vice president. Every single week, they would try to get me to go to one of the forbidden restaurants. Every week, I explained that I do not buy from that company, and every week they kept pushing. The drama started on a Friday. After I came in and handed out the lunch orders, I was called into the office with the vice president. He told me that I was bullying and excluding a coworker from my little lunch club, and that I must include him by going to the forbidden restaurant. I told them I would solve the problem. I also explained that Saturday's orders were already in, and Monday would be when the change would happen. On Saturday, after dropping off the orders, I sent a company-wide email canceling the lunch club. I stated the facts clearly. I was being forced by the vice president to add a forbidden restaurant to my pickups. Due to my moral and religious beliefs, I cannot support that restaurant. Therefore, effective immediately, the lunch club was disbanded. Starting Monday, everyone would be responsible for their own lunches. I would refund any prepaid money. I do not pick up lunch on most Sundays. Half the office supported my decision, the other half was furious. It had been a huge time saver and very cheap since I was picking it up on my way to work. I never made much money off it, maybe enough to cover my own lunch, around $15 to $16 a day on a good day. Why I might be the asshole? Mostly because I stopped the service suddenly. Some coworkers didn't have clear lunch plans, and some were especially upset because they wanted food from the forbidden restaurant. Comments. Commenter 1. Not the asshole. I have a forbidden fast food restaurant too. My friend jokingly calls it fascist chicken. I never give them money either. I applaud you for standing by your ideals. If people are upset, tell them to complain to the ones responsible for the cancellation. Would you reinstate it if they apologized? Reply from OP. Probably not. A few people pointed out potential liability issues. Since I transport the food, if something happened or someone had an allergic reaction, the blame could fall on me. Commenter 2. Not the asshole. Picking up lunch isn't your job. You were doing it as a courtesy. They can use a delivery service if they can't respect your rules. Reply from OP. Exactly. Starting Monday, they can order from whoever they want and pay for it themselves. Commenter 3. There's nothing wrong with building camaraderie if it's voluntary. The rules were reasonable. The VP threw his weight around and killed the goose that laid the golden eggs. If people wanted the blacklisted restaurant, they could have organized a separate run. Reply from OP. That's pretty spot on. I was getting lunch anyway. I calculated what I'd earn and ordered something slightly less, so my lunch was basically paid for. My guess is this was more about saving money and a power play than anything else. Update. Some details first. I was hired because I am bilingual in the client's main language and know the business. It would take 2 people to replace me. One of the forbidden restaurants is Chick-fil-A. The second is related to a personal issue I had with a franchise owner when I worked there. I have no issues ordering vegan, Muslim, or Jewish food for coworkers. Many of the places I visited offered those options. I emailed and spoke with the owner of the company. I'm in the clear. Promotions are not an issue. There was no promotion available anyway, but I did receive a raise. Monday, the VP told me I needed to fix the lunch issue by the end of the day or face consequences. I contacted the owner. Refunds were issued. I held no one's money. I ate a fresh beef burger at my desk. Tuesday, the owner made it clear that I was to be left alone. I could continue the lunch club if I wanted. I declined. I had Taco Bell that day. Wednesday, business as usual. I had a grilled chicken sandwich and fries. Thursday, coworkers asked me to restart the lunch club. I said no, too much risk. I brought in a burger, nuggets, fries, and a small Frosty. Friday, the coworker confronted me, called me racial slurs, knocked my lunch out of my hand, and left the building. He was met by the police and the owner, and was terminated when he returned. I am now allowed to work from home again with bi-weekly office meetings. Saturday, I set up my home office. Sunday, my day off. Final comments. One commenter said the coworker likely had a problem with me outside of the lunch club and used it to try to control me. They were glad he was terminated and that I get to work from home. They also noted that if you are old enough to work, you are old enough to figure out your own lunch. Another commenter said the entitlement was wild. I was not a delivery service. I was doing a favor. This is my opinion about the story. This story really shows how quickly kindness can turn into expectation. What started as a generous favor became something people felt entitled to control. Standing by your principles may cost convenience, but it protects your self-respect. And in the end, working from home with a raise sounds like a much better lunch deal anyway.
Story 3. My ex lied about vaccinating our immunocompromised 8-year-old daughter. She now has chickenpox and is in the hospital. I want my ex as far away from my daughter as possible. 7 years ago. My ex and I split up before our daughter's birth. There were a variety of reasons for this that I will not get into here. One of them, though, was her anti-science beliefs. She is an anti-vaxxer and does not trust science or medicine at all. This is especially difficult because our daughter was born premature and immunocompromised. We have 50-50 custody of her. but due to her condition and my ex's anti-science beliefs, we argue constantly about how to handle her care. Recently, our daughter made incredible progress. Last year, she was finally given the go-ahead to get vaccinated for certain viruses, including chickenpox and the flu. My ex went crazy about this. She started making my life a living hell and threatened repeatedly to take me to court. Around that same time, I got a new job that paid considerably more than my previous one. With the extra income, I decided I wanted to move my daughter into a private school that has a program specifically for immunocompromised children. I offered to pay 100% of the tuition. The only problem, at least for my ex, was that this school requires students to be fully vaccinated, up to their medically allowed limit in my daughter's case. My ex fought me every step of the way, and we ended up in court. The judge agreed with me and ordered that our daughter be vaccinated. My ex had a full breakdown, but ultimately agreed, on the condition that she would take our daughter to the appointment to lessen the emotional damage and make sure the doctor does not poison her. I demanded medical forms confirming the vaccination, and she agreed. So my daughter was supposedly vaccinated, and last fall she started at her new school. Then last week, my daughter became incredibly sick and had to be rushed to the hospital from school. She had somehow contracted varicella, chickenpox, despite being vaccinated for it. From the moment I got the call, I was stressed out and completely confused about how this could have happened. While I was visiting her in the hospital, my daughter must have sensed that something was wrong. She thought I was mad at her. That is when she told me the secret mommy promised to make her keep. My ex never vaccinated her. Instead, she used special oils and salts to keep her from getting sick. The medical forms she gave me, they were fake. I called the doctor and he confirmed that she never brought our daughter in. He never signed any vaccination forms. The documents I had were forged. So my ex lied. She forged medical documents to convince me our daughter had been vaccinated. I am furious. My daughter is in the hospital because my ex chose her beliefs over our child's health. My ex does not know that I know yet. I told my daughter not to tell her. I want my ex gone now. How do I approach this to make sure my ex faces consequences? I have the forged forms she handed me and text messages from the day she claimed she took her. I also have the doctor on record confirming the forms are fake. I am planning on speaking to a lawyer, but I would like to know what to expect going in. Thank you. Comments. Commenter 1. She was ordered by a judge to do something. Not only did she fail to do it, but she forged medical documents and lied in the process. Beyond any other issue she could face, neglect, child safety concerns, involvement from Child Protective Services, this is clearly serious. If you have a copy of the initial court order or can request one, that should be one of the first things you bring to an attorney. Commenter 2. I am not a lawyer, however, one detail stood out to me. When you decided to move your daughter into a private school for immunocompromised children, and that school required students to be fully vaccinated up to their medically allowed limit in my daughter's case, your ex's decision did not just endanger your daughter's life, she endangered all the children there. There's a real possibility that some of those children are now infected as well. Depending on their health, it could be even worse for them. This could potentially cost someone their life. Can the school take legal action against the ex? What about other parents? It seems like they would have a strong case, especially if someone were seriously harmed. At the very least, it would strengthen the custody case. Update 1. Also 7 years ago. A lot has happened. First, my daughter is safe with me and was released from the hospital about a week ago. She is improving every day. After making my original post, I followed the advice given. The next time I saw my daughter, I told her it was wrong of me to ask her to keep secrets, and it was okay to tell her mom. I met with a lawyer recommended by someone I trust. He told me this was a case lawyers salivate over and that my ex was in serious trouble. I immediately filed for emergency custody. I contacted the doctor again, fully explained the situation, and he asked me to submit the evidence to the police and file a report. My lawyer also contacted the court that originally ordered the vaccination and submitted all the evidence. Shortly after, my ex grew suspicious. When she confronted me at the hospital, she became hysterical. She yelled threats and insults, including accusing me of wanting to poison our child, right in front of our sick child. She was escorted out and banned from returning by the head nurse. She then sent me numerous texts calling me a monster and claiming that if she had vaccinated our daughter, she would be dead. Those texts were sent directly to my lawyer. As he put it, she is exactly what lawyers dream of when they hear who is on the other side. I was granted emergency custody until our full custody hearing later that year. The district attorney began preparing multiple charges against my ex. That is all I will say for now. Update 2. 3 years later. I now have full custody of my daughter. My ex is legally barred from any contact with her. The custody battle lasted over 5 months. It felt like the longest months of my life. During that time, my ex escalated. She came to my house and attempted to force entry to take our daughter. She was arrested and charged. The district attorney pursued felony forgery charges related to the medical documents. She spent a month in jail before pleading out. The forced entry charge was dropped, but she received 2 years in prison for forgery and a felony conviction. She was released early due to COVID. The judge ultimately determined that her actions, combined with the protective order and pending criminal charges, made her a danger to our daughter. She lost all custodial rights. Since then, I've had no contact with her outside of child support. My daughter and I moved to a new state. She attended fully online school for a time due to the pandemic. And recently, she was able to receive the COVID vaccine and is cleared to return to in-person schooling. Our lives are stable. She is safe. That is what matters. Final comments. Commenter 1. The ex endangered not only her own daughter, but every child in that school. There's a serious legal question as to whether the school or other parents could take action. Final commenter 2. Traceability may be the issue. It's difficult to determine exactly where the infection originated. Final commenter 3. Chickenpox parties used to be common before vaccines. Some anti-vaccine communities may still participate in them. Personal commentary. This story is a painful reminder that parental responsibility is not about ideology, it's about protection. Forging documents and forcing a child to keep secrets crosses far beyond disagreement into danger. In the end, the legal system stepped in, and a little girl is now safe, healthy, and protected. And that is the outcome that truly matters.
Story 4. Am I the jerk for calling my friend's emergency contact when she left her kid with me for 20 minutes and vanished? My friend Kayla, who is 29 years old, asked if I could watch her 6-year-old son for like 20 minutes while she ran into a store near my place. I said yes because I have known her for years and I have watched him before. He is a good kid. She showed up, dropped him off with his tablet and a snack, and said she would be right back. About 40 minutes later, I texted her, "Hey, everything okay?" No reply. An hour passes. I call her. It goes straight to voicemail. That is when I start getting that hot, panicked feeling. I am not his parent. I do not know what is going on. Her son starts asking when his mom is coming back, and I'm trying to keep it light. "Soon, buddy," while I'm also refreshing my phone like a maniac. I text again, then again. Still nothing. At the 2-hour mark, I'm honestly scared that something happened to her, but I'm also angry because this is not 20 minutes anymore. I had plans later, and I have basically been volunteered into childcare with no end time.
I remembered a small information card she once left in her bag, an emergency contact and pediatrician information, things like that. So I called the emergency contact, her older sister. I did not call to get Kayla in trouble. I called because I didn't know if she had been in a car accident, passed out somewhere, or worse. Her sister answered immediately. She sounded confused at first, then went quiet and said, "Wait, she told you 20 minutes?" Apparently, Kayla had texted her earlier saying she was going to look at a car with a guy she's been seeing and might be out a while. So she used me as a free babysitter so she could go do that, and she just chose not to tell me. Her sister drove over and picked up the kid. She was polite, but I could tell she was annoyed too. About 30 minutes after that, Kayla finally called me. She was furious. She said I embarrassed her and made her look like a bad mom. She claimed her phone died and that she lost track of time. I asked why she didn't plug it in or why she didn't just tell me she needed a couple of hours. She said because I would have said no and she really needed this. She also said I had no right to involve her family and now her sister is judging her. I told her I'm not a drop-off zone and I'm not comfortable being lied to about someone's kid. Now she's telling our mutual friends that I overreacted and that I'm dramatic for calling her sister instead of just waiting. So, am I the jerk for calling the emergency contact when she disappeared? Comments. Commenter 1. If she looked like a bad mom, it is because she was being a bad mom, not the jerk. Commenter 2. And now her sister is judging her. She needs to be judged again for trying to shame you for exposing her bad parenting. Commenter 3. Yes, the embarrassment is on her, not the person watching her kid. She lost that right the second she lied and vanished. Personal commentary. When someone leaves their child with you, honesty is not an option. It's the bare minimum. You did not escalate. You responded to a situation that felt unsafe and uncertain. If calling the emergency contact made her look irresponsible, it's because her actions were irresponsible. Watching someone's child is a favor, not a blank check for deception. Thanks for staying to the end. If you enjoyed the stories, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more interesting Reddit stories.